starting. I'll let Mr. Metric handle some paperwork and keep it then call the roll. Thank you.
Mr. Weisbord? Here. Mr. Wainwright?
Here.
Mr. Cilio?
Present.
Ms. Richmond?
Here.
Ms. Fortner?
President Mike Foley.
Ms. Moffitt?
Present.
Mayor Grady is absent, and President Muir.
Here. Councilor Cilio, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a lot of representatives from the public here. There are two agenda items for this evening. One is a motion to consider an amendment to the lease at 201 Sabine for the Narberth Community Food Bank. The other is a motion to advertise a non-discrimination ordinance, that is to begin the process of putting out into public what that non-discrimination ordinance will say. Because the amendment to a lease at 201 Sabine would fall under executive matters, it is my anticipation that after hearing public comment, Council will recess into executive session. We'll have a discussion, hopefully not too long, and then we will re-adjourn in public session, where you'll have an opportunity to hear the different council members, make a motion, put something on the table, and then speak to that one way or another. So, with that said, I'd like to begin public comment. There's a lot of people here. I'm going to limit comments to 3 minutes. I would encourage you, if you would like to just put support for someone who spoke before you, you can say so. If you'd like to add, go ahead, and then we can kind of move the meeting along in an efficient manner. So I'll start in the front row, and I'll move down the line. Ms. Fox.
I'll hold my public comment after I find out what's going on.
Okay, well, at the moment, there is not another opportunity for public comment. And I don't know that there will be another opportunity before there is a vote. Because once there's a motion on the table where we're discussing it after we've met in executive session, there will probably be a vote and there won't be another public comment. Again, so when we're dealing with professional matters, matters regarding leases, personnel matters, we'll vote on an action, but we may not discuss the details of that action until it actually happens, and then all of the documents and things related to it become public at that time. So, anyway, you can think about it, I'll come back. Moving down the front row, second row, sir.
Yeah, my name is Josh Ferris. I'm the pastor at Holy Trinity Lutheran Church, the one with the garden out front that sends tons of produce, literally tons, over the past few years to the food bank. I don't pretend to know enough about leases to tell you all what to do. I simply want to state that the work that the food bank does is too important for there not to be some sort of plan in place for the families that will suffer if the stores close. So if nothing else, please, tonight, let's move forward towards a plan of what happens next. Whether that involves the property at 201 Sabine or not, I don't know. But if there's any way my church or other churches could be of assistance, we're here to serve however we can.
Thank you.
Yep.
Moving down, and also I forgot to say, if you could state your name and address, we got you when you stand up. Yes.
Maureen O'Leary, Wendell Road. I just wanted to say it's important that we model behavior that we want our kids to follow, and the behavior that I guess I want to encourage is taking risks. And when somebody takes a risk and tries to do something that's good for everybody, I think it's up to the rest of us to support them in good times and in bad. And so I think encouraging people to really leap and jump and dream is important, and it's important to model how we behave when that doesn't always work out the first time.
Standing, Georgette Dubois, 111 Price. I'm here in the hope of getting information because, unfortunately, this is another situation where it's been exceedingly difficult to really find out what's going on. I can remember over months, in the past couple of years, asking questions about the leases, asking if a lease was signed, asking if rent was being paid, and I really could never get that information. And so I suspect that there are other people here who would just like, once again, that word, transparency. Please tell us how we got to a place where the food bank is, I don't even know if this is the correct number, but what I've heard is $23,000 in arrears for the rent, when that would have been known to the property manager and therefore should have been something the council knew and that the public knew. It's to continue with this service is a wonderful idea, but obviously there's some serious problems, and we have not been privy to what those problems are. And given that no one will have an opportunity after we hopefully learn something to ask questions, I'm speaking now, and I hope that at some point there will be that opportunity because it's long, long overdue. Thank you.
Andy Hawkinson, 203 Wayne. My second floor home office overlooks pretty much a good portion of the roof of the Sabine Avenue building. The view of that roof has not changed materially since I was sitting at that table. I also have watched the progress of the food bank serving many people that are in dire need, where that need is getting worse. So I would encourage the council to make whatever repairs are necessary to that building to get the food bank back in there so that they can properly serve their constituents and can properly operate the food bank without any problem that would resolve in non-payment of the rent.
Thank you.
I second that.
Please wait. Coming down, Ms. Neff, yes?
So I sent this letter to Borough Council, and I just want to read it to everybody. To accept any settlement for the Narberth Community Food Bank at this point in time, before a concerted effort to increase transparency and create new standards around this issue, is an irresponsible action. I urge you to vote against acceptance of this settlement until the following issues are remedied. 1. Please disclose a full and complete timeline as to the repairs of the unit, as well as all correspondence from all parties involved. 2. Please disclose the current lease agreement, which I have received, along with the documents from the original lease application, including credit check and financials. If these materials were not included in the initial lease application, as is standard procedure in commercial real estate, the food bank must be required to reapply for the lease with the standard proof of credit and income that a quality tenant would present. If these documents weren't initially required in the lease application, I'd ask for clarification as to why. Number 3, commit that the property committee will, as they should have been for the past 9 months, having monthly reviews of the rental income and status updates for the 201 Sabine property. I'd ask that for at least the next 12 months at a minimum that these documents be posted publicly. 4, commit that all new leases have standard credit checks, financials, etc. to ensure financial solvency. 5, that the food bank executive director and Councilwoman Gigi Teflin Moffitt should be asked to recuse herself from any and all votes in regards to the 201 Sabine property moving forward. In conclusion, the breach of public trust with these developments is significant. Without full disclosure around this, the Borough Council will not have the full good faith and trust of the public. I also care deeply about making sure that nobody in this community goes hungry, and I'm confident that our caring, active community of Narberth residents will make sure that everyone has the food that they need. Thank you.
Mr. Love?
Angus Love, 101 Woodbine Avenue. I see this from several different angles. Both of my sons have volunteered at the food bank and been very moved, not only by doing the work, but I think it's been very healthy for their growth as human beings. I'm also the solicitor of CADCOM, Montgomery County Community Action Agency, that provides food for the food bank. And I just want to say that this is a valuable resource, and looking at the work that it's done, I don't think we should allow this to go away. Every effort should be made to continue. I understand there are problems, financial problems. I think that as a community, we should attempt to come together and work this out. I was involved with a fundraising effort in Ambler for the Mattie Dixon food cupboard, also supplied by CADCOM, and we raised $1.5 million to buy the local fire company and equip it. And it was one of the easiest fundraising efforts I was ever involved with. So I think if that's what's needed here, I'm willing to help out. Anything we can do to save the food cupboard, I'm more than willing to assist. Thank you.
That's Mr. Kravitsky.
Ken Kravitsky, One Woodside Avenue. First, I want to echo what Georgette said. It's really hard to stand up here and give a passion plea when we don't actually have any or very little information. So instead, I'll give a passion plea with no information. So I'm willing to do that. But council serves a number of different roles. Fiscal steward is a very big one of them. But another one as a politician and as a community leader is role model. Right now, the messaging that we're going to send is for money, we're going to stop food bank. And I want to respectfully disagree with my friend Kim over here. If the food bank is kicked out as of the 31st with, I think it was 10 days notice, we are telling people that they have no place to get food. My request is, have these conversations. Extend the lease by a month. Let them do a good faith payment. Hopefully the settlement agreement that we're going to talk about shortly is wonderful. I have absolutely no idea. But to kick a food bank out when you don't know what's going to happen next is irresponsible. And to me, it's an inexcusable leadership effort. And so I really encourage everyone to keep at this table and to figure out.
It's necessary. It can't close. There has to be some kind of resolution. I'm not sure how the food bank was supposed to, in the first place, come up with that kind of rent each month. I don't know a whole lot about it, but what I do know is I know that it's based on donations. So why can't the borough donate a space for the food bank? Because it is for the benefit of our community.
Thank you. I'll come to the people that were standing in a moment, but I'm going to move down the third row. About a minute, maybe? Yeah. Go ahead.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Dave Fetterman. I live at 416 Sprague Road. It's 19072, and I'm on the Narberth Food Bank Board. I'm a proud member of the board. And on behalf of the Community Food Bank, I want to thank the Borough Council and the administration, and my fellow board members, Marissa Golden, Darrell, Jennifer Milani, and really our fearless director, Gigi. I've heard some comments, mostly good, some talking about how easy it would be to fill her shoes, and I think everybody knows that's just not true. I've never seen somebody more committed, more dedicated to serving the community than Gigi, and that's when she asked me if I would serve the board, I didn't hesitate. And I think that's probably the same for everybody that's on the board. And everybody should know that. No one's just going to step into our shoes and do this. In particular, I don't think John Walco, is he here? No. But I got to tell you, I want to thank John a lot. His professionalism and civility in trying to come to a resolution that meets the needs of the borough and keeps the food bank operational was especially gratifying to me. 2 weeks ago, on a Friday night, the board met in emergency session with the eviction notice, figuring out what we were going to do, where we were going to go, what was going to happen. I'm a lawyer, I'm not a landlord-tenant lawyer, I don't really know much about it. My sense about it was we just got to figure out a solution. Mistakes were made, everybody admits that, we know that. I think going forward we need to have a better business relationship with the borough, and I think everybody recognized that as well. But John was terrific, and we agreed on that Friday night that I would call John the next day, pick up the phone. We thought about that night, but I said, let's not call him at 10 o'clock at night on a Friday. So I called him Saturday morning around 10 o'clock. Okay. Cold called, told him who I was. Of course, he was aware of the situation. Said, look, is the borough interested in resolving this? Or are they going to insist on kicking us out? He said the council they're amenable to resolving it. I said, okay. And I knew we were halfway home. And then through a number of series of phone calls, emails, conversations, meetings with the borough, and meetings with the board, I think we reached a terrific resolution, which will keep the food bank open. We're going to be both beneficial business-wise for the borough, and also by accepting this settlement in which all back rent will be paid. And there are a lot of reasons why it got to this point Some good, some bad. It's a long story, more than 3 minutes.
Yeah, let's hear it.
But I just wanted to conclude by saying that, as other people have said, let's keep in mind that the real beneficiaries of this agreement are the folks who need the food, the baby supplies, and other necessities of living that most of us take for granted, but of which many people are in desperate need. So by reaching this settlement tonight, the borough and the food bank not only would it be making a wise business decision, but would be doing a mitzvah. And it's a good thing. It's something that we can both be proud of going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
I'm Darrell Hertz Jr. I'm also on the board of the food bank, and I echo a lot of what Dave said just now, and I would just add that, the terms that we came to an agreement with the borough that you're going to vote tonight, I think benefit both parties. You'll get all of the back rent and guarantee of the rent moving forward, and we get to stay in the space and continue to serve the community for people that need food, need GED services, ESL, all the services that we provide to the community. Thanks.
Thank you. We're going to move to the next row, and then
There's somebody in front.
yeah, that's all right. Mike, I'm back. Go ahead.
Mike Solomonson, 4 Shirley Circle. I guess there's 2 different aspects that I want to talk about. One is the building is an asset, but that asset can be used for lots of things. It can produce revenue, but I respectfully disagree with Ms. Neff that we should be treating it as if it's a commercial property and our tenants are exclusively commercial tenants. We don't charge rent for the playground. We don't charge rent for the other assets across the hall. I don't think we charge. I don't see anything in the line item for New Horizons. This organization serves our community. We should be providing to it, not asking from it. It is wrong to think it is generous that they pay rent, but I, for one, don't even believe that we can't dedicate a small portion of that building, which is not even ours, but has a reversionary interest still to the school district, if you remember, that we cannot dedicate a small portion of that property to the benefit of the community as a whole. I think there's a classic mistake that is being made in this room, and that is to associate the food bank with one individual. It is greater than that. It is the people who volunteer. It is the people who brought tons of food to my house 2 weeks ago when this broke. The good people of this community stepped up and delivered enormous amounts of groceries to my front door, so much so that I have a squirrel problem. But it is the volunteers. It is the kids at Belmont Hills Elementary School who every year, year after year after year, make a point of learning from us that there's something more important than themselves, that they need to give to the community and give back to the community. And I think we all need to realize that, because I think a lot of people are imposing their own personal views towards people associated with the food bank and not recognizing that the food bank is more, it's all these dedicated people here who work. I think particularly in this time frame, when our community members are at a more vulnerable point than they've ever been before, given what's going on in Washington, that we have to remember that what we are as a community and what we want to do to build as a community. You do not build a great community by listening to fear-mongering politicians or citizens. We cannot build a great community by espousing and then turning away from rumors or half-truths, really lies on social media. We build a great community by appealing to the better angels of our natures, by taking care of the widow, the disabled, the vulnerable, and especially the hungry in our midst, to provide the social safety net needed perhaps more than ever, any time in recent memory, and to give the true meaning to the word community. My name is Mike Solomonson, and I am a proud supporter of the Narberth Community Food Bank. I've been in the past, I am in the present, and I will be in the future. Thank you.
Jennifer Pryor, 314 Grayling Avenue. I'd like to echo all of the comments that have been made before me, some that'll be much better than mine, in support of the food bank. But I just wanted to add that I really think that Narberth has really a moral obligation to do what it can to work this out, especially given the work that the food bank does, the great that it does, and the people it services. We just really have a moral obligation to somehow work this out.
Thank you. Mr. Nixon?
Thank you. Jim Nixon, 219 Williams Avenue. I had the opportunity to discuss this matter with my family, with my neighbors, and with members of my parish at St. Margaret. And, you know, a great person once said that you can judge a society by how it treats the most vulnerable among us. And whatever the politics are here, whatever the numbers, you guys know so much more than we do. But I think it's imperative that we step up and do the right thing here. A lot more people than you might realize depend on the food bank for diapers, for food, to survive on a daily basis. And to quote what Mr. Fetterman said, I think we should try and do a mitzvah and make this work, and I urge council to find a solution. Thank you.
Moving down the last row, I'm going to go to the standing room on the side here. Anybody? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Joanne Bean, and I reside at 103 Rockland Road. And I'm here, like many of you, to learn this evening, and feel a little sorry that I can't learn first and then make a comment. But that, given the arrangement that you've made this evening to permit comment first and then deliberations and revelations of whatever sort come from the meeting, I would like to say a few things. I'm a member of the Church of St. Asaph in Ballackinwood, and that church, among many others, is a church that provides fresh grown produce for the food bank. And the members of our church are, some of whom are here tonight, and one of whom started our gardening program, are very proud and very active in participating with the food bank, and we want to continue that. I thought first when I heard the news that the food bank might be closed, where would we take all of our fresh produce? So we really do want to continue being a partner. On the other hand, I've heard some things in the press, which I don't know if they're correct or not, but they're disturbing. One, that the food bank doesn't have a 501c3 status with the state, doesn't have the right paperwork to permit charitable donations. And that, to me, is of great concern. I don't know whether that's true or not, but if it is, people who are writing checks aren't able to get a tax write-off if that was one of their motivations. And many people do like to be able to give money and also be able to add that up as a tax return. So it's of concern to me to hear whether or not that matter is resolved. Also, and last, the last time that I came before Borough Council was several years ago, and I rose right at about this spot to say that I think it's really important for the New Horizons Senior Center to have a permanent home. And at the time, it was discussed as being either the food bank would get a space or New Horizons would get a space, a permanent space. And as it's come out, it seems as though New Horizons has been able to remain in its space. The food bank is able to remain in its space. New Horizons still does not have a permanent home. And I'd just like to throw that out into the mix, that I, for one, as a citizen, am keen to have New Horizons not have to fold up its tent every day at the conclusion of its services to seniors, but that it have a place that's a permanent home. What better spot, perhaps, than in the Sabine property?
Thank you. Yes.
Kurtz, 531 Dudley Avenue. I think food banks and food cupboards and senior citizen centers are all really important things for us as a community and any community. I just am a little befuddled because it sounds as if we've switched horses midstream, so to speak. Because last year it was said that that property had to be income producing and that the food bank could pay the rent. And enterprises could not. I'm really glad to hear tonight, apparently, the food bank can pay the $23,000 it owes in back rent, which is a strange thing for me to think about. But please note that, if you want that property to be available for good of the community, that's without rent or with minimal rent, that is a big, big change from what you all said a year ago. And I'd just like that change to be acknowledged and taken into account, especially moving forward.
Thank you. Anyone else over here? People sitting down, I don't see any hands coming down the line.
Hi,
Yes.
I'm Cassie Gordon. I live at 220 Lantern Lane. I'd like to just add that I support the food bank. I'd like you to accept the payment and move forward and work together. We need it. I see it with the students I take on the bus here. We need the food bank. Work it out.
Hi, it's Roberta Dunn. I'm 117 Essex Avenue. Okay. Has anyone talked about how Trump has chopped everything down of the SNAP, okay, health care, the whole, everything is like cut. Okay, why is any of this even a question? This is Narberth. Small gripes don't matter. We have a different heart. There shouldn't be a question about, well, where's the rent, whatever. Cuts like that, they demand that you focus on banding together to save this. People from 3 communities and 4 come straight to Gigi. When I found 2 of your seniors in this community, okay, coming to me to help them to walk them home, and I find that they lived in squalor, conditions so bad, who do we call in an emergency to help our own? Gigi. She's not on trial here. This is about feeding people in our community. Some have pride that they won't even come out tonight, but they need us. And with the cut in funding like this, come on, why is this a question? This is not Philly. This is Narberth. Kids and families. How many foreclosures are within the address of the food bank? Higher numbers than 10, okay? When do you think it's going to hit? These are young families that are going to have foreclosures, okay? Where are we going to send them? To Bryn Mawr? Have you really been there? Well, I have. It's a whole different flavor, okay? People, the underdogs, they won't even reach out to someone who is not warm from Narberth, and that's our reputation. So some crap about rent? Come on, I've been in this town 15 years. I have walked your dogs, I've kept your kids, I've done everything, even been a nanny, okay? And I'm a corporate person. This, we have to keep this. Come on, you guys.
Coming down the side here, I'll come back to you soon. Anyone else on the left-hand side? No? Ms. Rothman, go ahead. You're up, Cindy. Oh, that's you.
Unfortunately, I'm not affiliated with the Rothman Institute. I'm Cindy Rothman. I live at 32 Narberth Park. I lived in Narberth for 20 years. I kept hearing mitzvah. Mitzvah is a gift. It's tikkun olam that we should be thinking about. And tikkun olam is about giving back to our community. It is hard for me to think that I could possibly live in a community where politics seem to prevail and concerns for each other are not thought of. It's just my basic principle in life, and I hope that there can be a discussion, a resolution, and we can all live together.
Thank you. I'm going to come back around to the standing room on this side of the room.
Yeah, my name's William Gordon. I'm at 220 Lantern Lane. I'm a member of St. Margaret's Parish, and I support the food bank in all ways, and I wish that you would accept the payment. Thank you.
Thank you. Ma'am, you had your hand up earlier?
My name is Joyce Small, and I'm a volunteer at the food bank. And I think tonight the core question here is, what kind of a community do we want to have? What kind of a place do we want to live in? Do we want to care for the most vulnerable among us? I think the food bank, and I've seen over the years that I've been there, I'm a nurse and I do the health classes there. That's another valuable asset for them because so many of them don't have the health care that they should, and our classes are primarily centered on preventative care, and that's a big help to people. But we provide so many other services, and like people have talked about, children volunteer. We've been absolutely struck dumb by the generosity of tiny little kids that have given so much and thrown parties and invited people and, taken up all kinds of collections. And it seems to me that here we are, a room full of grown-ups, and we can't come up with a better idea that maybe Narberth should, instead of drawing rent, should look at this as a national treasure and be donating more towards the food bank. Because after all, what kind of a community do we work with?
Anybody who's already spoken. There were some people that filtered into the room. Okay, so I'm going to give this. Yes, Ken.
I've been a member of the food bank. I work at night for the last 4 years. And I guess I'm going to talk about Gigi because I haven't heard anyone really, except someone in the back, talk about that. And I think you have to understand that her sense of people is extraordinary. I've never seen anyone be able to rally volunteers from all walks of life the way she has. We have people coming in from St. Joe's University during their school year, and they never miss. They want to be there. So I'm saying from that perspective, I think that she really has to be given a chance at that, because I think if the food bank stays, and if Gigi works out all the problems that are to be worked out, I think that she's the one to lead it if it goes, because she is so good. And I'm glad, Joyce, you brought up the fact that you do your nursing classes. I did basic computers for Gigi, and there were a lot of us cook when there are leftover foods, so that we package it and we bring it back the next week. So it's more than just a food bank. It is a community spot where people want to be there. And they don't just hand out food from Philabundance or donations. They do put their heart into it by cooking, by doing all the other things. And there were literacy programs, and Joyce, I can't remember them all. We just had so many. But anyway, I just wanted to give a heads up for Gigi.
Thank you. I'm going to give. Yes, ma'am. You may.
I'm the 19072 resident, but I live on the other side of my I've been a volunteer at the food bank for June Silverstein. I've been at the volunteer at the food bank since, I can't remember the year, the last year it was at the church. Like several others have said, we have a huge support of the volunteers here tonight. This is a group of people who are so committed to this that they give up other parts of their lives to come to this food bank every Tuesday or Monday night. Not only does the food bank represent something to Narberth community, but it represents a place for children to volunteer who have had some issues of their own. It's a place where people come to get advice because they either can't afford or too embarrassed or just don't feel safe at another place in Narberth. This community needs the food bank not only for the people who are coming for the services that it offers, but for what it gives back to this community for everybody else. The kids, the seniors, the people who are just lonely, the people who need something that is not offered at another place, or that they don't, and it's a safe place. People come just because they feel safe. And to give that up because you can't come to a resolution, a financial resolution, just doesn't make sense. Thank you.
I'd like to let Mr. Fetterman just have one more word. I think he wanted to respond to some comments.
Thank you. It was just in terms of the legal, the 501c3 issue they raised. We've always been a 501c3 from the very beginning. It's never been an issue. The issue we're talking about is, I know DCF. There's the Pennsylvania Department of Charitable Funds. I never really had heard of it, but until now. And there's a form, in addition to the 501c3 status, which we've always had, and which we've always operated under, so there's no issue there. We've retained counsel who are in the process as we speak of getting it's like one form filed with additional paperwork to be in compliance to enable us to actually solicit contributions. In the meantime, we can take, without soliciting, we can operate, give out food, people can raise whatever they want for us we can't do any soliciting until we get that document taken care of. But as far as 501c3, nonprofit status, that's all kosher. So that's all fine. And I just wanted to also echo what Mike said about thank all the volunteers. That was part of what I wanted to say. I just omitted that. And the board members, everybody. It's a really nice community effort, and it's really worth keeping.
We can ask questions of who's representing the food bank officially.
What I'd like is to recess into executive session. We can ask a representative of the food bank to sit with us for a portion of that executive session to answer questions for council members. Then we can deliberate privately. And then we'll come back into session and we can share whatever information we've discovered and conclusions that we've come to that we'd like to share. So yes, Councilor Tevin Moffett has indicated she will recuse herself from the executive session where we will be discussing this potential amendment to the lease at 201 Sabine.
I think Gigi had almost all the answers we possibly want.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is there somebody else?
Again, I think the board can represent the organization, and I think that they need to do so. So with that, we're going to recess. I hate to send you all into the hallway for a little while. Council is reconvening at 8:28 from its executive session where we discussed matters relating to the lease of the food bank at 201 Sabine Avenue. Anybody like to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to remedy the lease default by ceasing termination. In knowledge that the food bank will pay all back rent, June rent, and 2 months deposit for 2 months in the future. I'll second that.
Okay, and I'd like to just add to that I'm going to add this letter, which is a draft prepared by our solicitor that details in more specified language exactly what Councilor Wright just said aloud, and that this will be the basis of what will be given over to the food bank. And my understanding is that between the solicitor and Mr. Fetterman, they have agreed to these terms. So I expect that we will move forward with this. Any other discussion by council members?
We should address some of the
Go ahead, Bob.
the the things that were in the conversation from the community, as well as some of the things we were able to learn from the food bank board, Mr. Cattleman, Mr. Herbst, and Ms. Cole. Sorry, I know
That's
your
okay.
first name. First name's very
Okay,
much.
Jeff quiz on it.
There was a lot of concern that we were evicting the food bank, and there was also a lot of concern that we had not seen any payments for 9 months. And according to the lease, that eviction probably should have occurred several months earlier. It appears from what I heard through our conversation that there was a significant communication issue where registered mail that was sent to the food bank was not received, and that concerns about the condition of the building was not acknowledged in the way that the food bank wanted the borough to acknowledge it. I don't agree with withholding rent in that situation, but that's what occurred, and bottom line is we're going to see that rent be paid, and it seems as if all the issues with the quality of the building have been fixed, and somebody will correct me if there's anything outstanding that the borough knows of. Okay. I guess the concern I had over the food bank board was resolved. I mean, it was hard to find out who they were and what their role was, and to make sure that they were truly a board. Mr. Herbst stepped up. He's the president of the board. And so I have personal confidence that if we have issues, it will be resolved, that he feels that responsibility of that. It's great to hear so much positive about the food bank, about Ms. Moffitt, just what it means to the community and the purpose it does. I still would like, personally, at some other point, this is probably the time, to know who it's serving in the sense of, is it an urban community, is it outside community? Either way, it's a good thing they're doing, but we always need to know that. The one conflict that I had was brought up by Catherine Kurtz, and others have brought it up when we discussed the community role in New Horizons, the senior center, in the past year. And the same council essentially said we need to treat this building as a business. What we're doing tonight is doing the right thing. If we're treating it as a business, I'm not quite sure. I think next time there's an opportunity to do the right thing for the New Horizons Senior Center or other community service, maybe we need to step up and do that. That would be my opinion. There's 6 other council members that can decide what they believe the role of the borough government is. But that was something that did strike home. So I will be supporting this, and really, really appreciate hearing such overwhelmingly strong concern to maintain this food bank in the space that we're able to do, and hopefully they'll take care of their financial and paperwork issues.
Any other council members, anything to discuss or add? Go ahead.
I just want to add, since I honestly thought this would be like a 10-minute meeting with nobody here, because that's how this sometimes goes. So I'm gratified to see there are so many people here that take an interest. I've been on the property committee for 3 years at this point, so I've been part of a lot of the discussion about this building to date. And so I want to correct a couple misconceptions that people have about prior discussions and bring it up to speed to where we are now, and why I think this is in fact a business decision for the borough, as it should be, and as it has been in light of how we've treated this building, at least for the past 4, 5, 6 years. And I see a lot of people in the room too who are interested in being involved in borough governance going forward, so this might be useful to you too. This building at 201 Sabine is on our books as probably the largest single asset that the borough and we collectively as citizens own. It's, as Mike Samuelson noted, owned by the borough, since it was turned over to us by the school district, but the school district does have a right to repurchase it from the borough specifically for an educational purpose. It's not clear to us.
School.
For a school. Even narrower than that. So it's not clear to us as stewards of the borough's assets whether they're going to do that or not. But that time is going to come up in the not
not very distant future, when some of the people around the table here and some others in the room may be involved in having to figure out what happens there. And so, for the past few years, the property committee has looked at the property we're sitting in here and the community buildings in the field as community assets that organizations use for free or really for limited one-time fees or cleaning reimbursement. We're trying to do our best as a property committee under Barbara's leadership to document some policies and procedures around that so that it's done with more consistency. But we've looked at that building and it's accounted for in this way as a business-related activity. Both because at some point we might find ourselves as a town in a negotiation over value with the school district if they do decide to exercise that option, or we may have the option to do a whole variety of things with that building in the future, which could include some combination of public uses or private uses or a sale or a lease of the property, in which case when we get to that decision point, having treated it as a business and maximized the rents probably pretty important. Also, as a lot of you know, all the leases came up the last time at the same time, and we had a mix of nonprofits interested in the space and a lot of for-profit tenants in the space, some of whom are very sharky negotiators. And so I know it's dissatisfying to a lot of people that a lot of these negotiations have to take place in executive session, but when you're negotiating terms of leases, including duration, price, renewal, security, and things like that, any concession you make in one spot, any smart CFO of a nonprofit or another organization will find a way to get from you a simultaneous negotiation. So we try to do a few things in the last round of negotiations, and we're trying to abide by them here too. Try to shield any discussion of the leases from political influence. So while I appreciate you guys coming into this meeting to support the food bank and appreciated the support that was given to some of the other nonprofits in the earlier lease negotiations, it actually is kind of makes our jobs sometimes a little bit more difficult. We have to be extra careful that we're shielding any discussion of whether we're going to sign a lease or what the rate on the lease is going to be from political influence, because you don't want all of the other people showing up and thinking that this is the place to try to extract concessions on leases too. So what we've tried to do is hand over the responsibility for the lease negotiations and for ongoing property management in the day-to-day once you have a tenant in place to a professional property manager and take their recommendations as to to market the property, take the recommendations for who the right tenant is, what the right market clearing rent is, and then deal with those tenants on a go-forward basis, escalating things like building repairs to the office as needed. We had some issues with our prior property manager in terms of communication and so forth. We engaged a new one 2 years ago, 18 months ago, around the time in the middle of when those leases were being negotiated, honestly. And I think in general, communications with the tenants have gone better. Communications with the borough office have gone better, and we've worked our way through a fairly extensive punch list of repairs to that property. And I think part of what's happened in the history of this lease, which Bob mentioned, was this is a new part of the building that hadn't been rented before. It's the upstairs. I guess people who've been here longer than me would remember it as being a gym years and years and years ago, split in half by an engineering firm that put a floor in there. And there were some needed structural repairs to parts of that floor that through the early part of the tenancy here made part of that property unusable. That building also has had some problems with various parts of its roof that have needed re-roofing. And so there were some roof leaks in that and some other locations. And during the course of the dispute with the tenant we're talking about tonight, there was a need for the borough to make some of those repairs. Those repairs have been made at this point and handled by the professional property manager in consultation with the office, as it should be, with us not mucking ourselves up in the middle. And I think that, again, the tenant negotiating with the professional property manager, having had that history, having had some two-way communication issues, but finally I think resolving and coming to an agreement where the back rent that's going to be paid, I think, takes into consideration the fact that the space had to be demised for the fact they couldn't use the kitchen because of the structural issues, which have been remedied. So the go-forward rent is back to the terms of the original lease because now the space is occupiable. I'm trying to think if that's this goes for future council members who might have to deal with this space too. One of the reasons we've handed this over to the professional property manager, A, is to avoid any perception of there being people being able to come and lobby for us to sign with a particular tenant over another tenant or get favorable rent. But it's also because we're a small town, and so we have multiple people just coincidentally who are on the council, and I'm sure we'll have this in the future, who are some way affiliated with one of these organizations, because either as a commercial lease, we've got people who are on the boards of different organizations that either are current tenants or looked at being tenants. And throughout the whole process, I got to say, it hasn't affected me because I'm not involved with any of them. But all of my peers who are involved have recused themselves even from committee level discussions on these things. And it's made it a giant pain in the butt to actually try to have discussions because we've been lucky that we've been able to achieve a quorum still with that. Another good reason to have a professional property manager managing the day-to-day on this stuff. Because it allows you to, have all those issues dealt with there, and then hopefully be fortunate enough to have a quorum when it comes to bigger things come in front of council. And hopefully in the next 3 to 5 years, some bigger things will come in front of council and will position the building to be something that future council can make rational decisions on, and not one that's been, dealt with it as partly a business and partly a nonprofit space. So I think my view, maybe a little different from Bob's, is that I think the settlement's gotten to a good place, but it's gotten to a good place as a business decision. And we have a tenant who had some disputes with the borough, they withheld rent. We fixed the problems that were there, and the solicitor and the professional manager outside the context of this room found an agreement with the tenant that makes sense and results in us getting paid back rent, adjusted for some unoccupiable space and future rent that's on commercial terms and in line with the original leases that the prior property manager negotiated. And I'd say that's a deal I would take. I thought this was going to be a 10-minute meeting because it seemed like an obvious thing to do. And yeah, sorry. And but I felt like I needed to explain my position, just given all the discussion tonight. It's only fair. But I would make exactly the same decision regardless of who the tenant of the building was. It doesn't matter to me that it's the food bank.
Thank you. Any other council members? Council Richmond?
Yeah, I want to just also say that there's been, it is a food bank, and I understand when I first came on to council that there was this conversation about this will be a commercially market rate property that we maximize for taxes. But I actually think that our community has a need for a food bank, and it's a little bit absurd that they're paying this level rent. I also think there's a need for New Horizons and other community things. Their old church had the theater in it, which is now gone. I would say that we have a giving community, we have a caring community, we have a generous community, and I think that going forward, hopefully there will be some sort of community space for all of these things that we want in our town, and that they are not forced to pay those rents, because it doesn't make sense with nonprofits that serve us. So hopefully that's somewhere on the horizon.
And I'd just add to that, the reason we're doing the long-term capital plan, the reason we're doing a long-term strategic plan, the reason we're doing all of these different groups is to move in the next couple of years towards a community consensus about the direction, about the goals, and about what it's going to cost to achieve those so that we can get buy-in to do so. I think Council's united on that. Any other comments? Okay. Why don't we call the roll? So, all in favor of remedying the lease default and ceasing the termination action under the terms of this draft letter, which council members have reviewed. Call names.
Sure. Mr. Westport.
Aye.
Mr. Wegbright.
Yes.
Mr. Cilio.
Aye.
Ms. Richmond.
Aye.
Ms. Fortner.
Aye.
Ms. Moffitt's recused. President Mutrick.
Aye.
All voting members in favor.
All right, thank you. Moving on to the next item of business, 4B, motion to advertise the non-discrimination ordinance. Councilor Richmond?
Yes. Can I have this
Beat you
one?
to it?
Yes. I'm ready. I want to say.
Yeah, if you want to leave, now's a good time. Councilor Richmond has provided you your moment. Cheryl,
Way to thin the crowd.
I just want to say that here in the Commonwealth, LGBT people can be fired, denied mortgage, or use service at a hotel, library, hospital, etc. because of who they are and who they are. For years, this has been an effort across the state of Pennsylvania to ensure equality, and it has not been successful yet. There are 43 municipalities currently in Pennsylvania who have passed a non-discrimination ordinance, and so that is why this council is moving forward with this. We've introduced it. It will be available on the website for public comment, and so hopefully all will do that. And
So you moved to put this on the table?
I move
or is
to
it advertised?
introduce the
You want to read the title?
the title. My glasses are not even working. One second. Okay. This part?
Yes.
Okay, so I make a motion to introduce an ordinance amending Narberth's code to create a new chapter entitled Human Relations that establishes the Narberth Human Relations Commission, provides for the membership and term requirements, responsibilities, powers, and duties of the commission, prohibits discrimination in housing, commercial, property, employment, and public accommodations based upon actual or perceived race, color, sex, religion, ancestry, genetic information, national origin, sexual orientation, gender identity or expression, familial status, marital status, age, mental or physical disability, veteran status, or the use of guide or support animals and or mechanical aids, and provides for exceptions, definitions, procedures, or penalties thereto.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Is there any further discussion? All in favor of introducing the ordinance?
Aye.
Aye. It's unanimous, the ordinance passes. I'm going to take a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?